Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Paul of Cannibal Corpse to talk about Violence Unimagined, out April 16th on Metal Blade Records. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for taking the time. I'm sure your excitement level is getting to an all-time high. The album is just around the corner. Well, what are you most excited about this date of April 16th?
Yeah, I mean, just excited to get it finally out. You know, it seems like it's been forever, of course, after recording and then having to delay the release and all that. And, you know, so it's been a long time coming to finally get the music out. And we've been excited with the songs that we came up with and the album as a whole, of course, you know. Just waiting, exciting for the fans to finally hear the whole thing, you know. Having us get this, you know, Inhumane Harvest out, Murderous Rampage. I know today Condemnation Contagion came out as a guitar playthrough and everything, and we're only a little over a week away. And you know, the excitement level from the fans is at an all-time high, you know, which then of course it makes us on that high as well. So yeah, I'm just wanting it to finally get out there for the masses and everybody hear the whole thing and you know, hear what they got to say, because you know, I think the fans are going to dig it, and they're going to be, you know, really happy with what we put together here with Violence Unimagined. So we can't wait.
Anytime you announce that there's a Cannibal Corpse album coming out, everybody gets excited about it. Then you release the singles, it gets people even more excited about it. I mean, the response from these singles have been absolutely phenomenal. Did that surprise you guys, or you knew that you had some really good material in your hands?
Well, I mean, we always feel we got good material. You always try to do the best that you can, you know, and for the time given, and you write, you know, you're always wanting to write the better song or what have you. And then it comes down to really, you know, what the fans think, you know. I mean, I thought we had some good stuff, you know, for sure. I mean, I think that's why we released, say, Inhumane Harvest first as well. I mean, to me, that's like the tip of the iceberg on the record. But man, one of my favorite tracks really on the record, you know, it's just got a little bit of everything. And I was excited for that song, and I think the rest of the band was as well. And it was pretty unanimous on releasing that one first, you know. So you know, maybe I don't know. You just don't know what to expect anymore. You know, you're hoping that everybody's going to dig it as much as we do, you know. But man, what a response! Exactly, you know.
That first single, did it feel to you that song is perhaps one of the hookiest tracks? And I know saying a hooky track on a Cannibal Corpse, perhaps for some people those two words don't go together, but it is right. One of the more catchy tracks that the album has to offer. Do you feel that way about that song?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's why, you know, when you have to decide on what song to put out first, you know, you don't just, you know, close your eyes and pick one. You know, you go, okay, which one's really the best representation of what we got going here, you know. And in my eyes personally, I was like, man, this is my favorite song on the record. You know, they're all great, but you know, this one just does the most to me, right? I got the most feeling out of it, you know. And then you're feeling, well, if we feel that way, then hopefully the fans would feel the same way as well. But man, what a great song Rob wrote. Exactly. I mean, just, you know, such a great feel, great hooks. I mean, you know, great changes of pace and everything. I mean, it's got it all. You know, so I think it was important to hit the fans hard like that, to hit them, you know, to get them one of the if not the strongest track or the best track. I mean, that's going to be up to debate and for everybody to, you know, to be talking about. But, you know, I think it's, you know, it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite song on the record, and a great representation of what we're doing today.
When you look at this album and the history that the band has and all the records you guys have released, was there any specific challenges that you guys were faced with this album that perhaps weren't there in previous albums?
Not too much. I mean, of course, bringing Eric into the fold was different. It wasn't really a challenge, but you know, you're bringing in a guy that's writing different songs now, and you know, having to, you know, play. I got to play drums over something, a new, you know, new flavor, a new, you know, new style, so to say. Still Cannibal, but you know, Eric's going to be himself. But So that was maybe a little bit of a challenge, different. Overall it was a challenge. I mean, yeah, these songs are difficult, man. These are some hard songs. I mean, obviously a very drum heavy record as well, and some of the material, what Alex wrote, it was just like mind blowing. It really took me a while to absorb this, to be able to feel comfortable to to play, of course, and to do it with conviction. So it was a big challenge mentally, for sure. Luckily the pandemic didn't really affect us. I mean, obviously we recorded, or we wrote everything pre-pandemic, and right when it hit was like that, literally that tail end of, okay, we're just wrapping everything up and putting those final touches on the songs, and then we're going into the studio next month, which it would have been this time last year, and then the pandemic hits. So the concern really was, are we going to be able to record? I guess that was probably our biggest thing at that point. Like, man, we're so close, this would suck if we can't record. I mean, we're ready to go in tomorrow basically, and if we can't record, man, this is going to be kind of devastating here. And so we were worried for a little bit there. Are they going to close the studio down? I mean, are we going to be able to travel, albeit we're just in our own city here, but are we going to be able to do that? So so luckily it all worked out. I mean, and I guess, the one obstacle, which wasn't too big of an obstacle to overcome with the recording, was Alex having to record his bass tracks at his home studio in Portland, Oregon. He would have been at Mana recording with us, like he has in the past, but because of the virus and all that, he wasn't able to travel. And, but of anybody in the band, that's the guy that's has the means and able to do what he did. He's done it before with his other side bands, Blotted Science, Conquering Dystopia, and here he's going to do it for the first time on a Cannibal record. So a minor roadblock, I should say, or speed bump, because it ended up being no one knows the difference. I mean, it turned out great. He did a great job. He all that worked out. No big deal. So that was really that was it. So it was kind of minor in the scheme of things when you look at it.
You touched on two topics that I want to ask you about, and I want to start off with Eric. Besides the guitar work that he brings into the fold, what else do you feel like he brings to the band that perhaps was lacking a little bit before?
Well, I mean, it's always interesting bringing in a new member. We've done it a few times over the years, of course, bringing in a couple of different guitar players or what have you, changing our singer, so it's always exciting, I guess, in that sense, when you feel that kind of new, that freshness, I guess, of somebody else coming into the band, but man, Eric, it's crazy because we've known him for so long. We've obviously known him for many years, and then working with him for, now 5 records, and then, being on tour with him when we toured with Hate Eternal, and then of course him touring with us then for a few tours. So, we've known him, and he fits so perfect. But I'll tell you, man, Eric is he's such a workaholic, and he's such a positive force. He's such a positive guy, and having that positivity is it's huge, man. At this day and age, the older you get, having anybody around you like that is just, man, I
hear you. The older you get, the harder it is.
Yeah, man, you want to put negativity away from you, and you just want to be around positive people. And I mean, he is such an amazing guy in that regard, man. I mean, he's like I said, a workaholic, a great guitar player, just such a positive guy. I mean, that was awesome. It's fun being around him, man. It really is.
You mentioned about how difficult some of the tracks on this album are, and I was listening to this record, and the first listened to the record many times. This is an album that I feel like it gives me something different as far as Cannibal Corpse is concerned that I haven't really gotten in the past 14 albums. Can you define what is so different about this album? Because I have a hard time explaining to myself, why does it sound different?
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer. I know, because right, what did we do different? What are we doing here? We never really
feel different to you. Does it feel like it's different?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I think we've just honed our abilities musically. you know, songwriting wise, I mean, I know I've worked so hard in the last few years, probably to build up to this point, you know, I mean, listening to my drumming since, you know, probably since Torture, you know, moving forward here on the last 4 records now, it's just gotten a lot more involved, you know, than probably than ever, you know. Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint it exactly, because I think we just kind of go about what we go, you know, what we always have done. It's not like we ever sit down and go, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do, no, we just do our thing. You know, Alex writes his songs, Rob writes his songs, you know, now we got Eric writing his songs, and they all come together as Cannibal Corpse. So it really is kind of tough to maybe pinpoint, you know, your point there, exactly why it might sound that much different, you know. You know, I don't know. I don't know. You know, like I said, all I can say in my regard is exactly that I've worked my ass off more so than ever. And I think it's apparent on this record in the drumming department for sure, you know. So that's a big
an album that, for me, just to go into what you're saying, for me, when I was listening to this record, the first time that I played it, I listened to the album as anybody would listen to the album. Then after that, I listened to the album, but I focused just on the drums. Then I listened to the whole album, I focused just on the guitars. Like I was able to break down the album per each element every time that I went through it. And then at the end, I went back and I observed it all again. And I don't think that's something that you guys ever gave me a chance to do with the previous records. But with this album, maybe it was more accessible to me.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to do it. And I'm glad you went about that, you know, listen to it that way. I think there's just so much happening individually, you know, more than ever, you know, right. You have to just focus on the drums to fully appreciate it, to understand what's happening. And then you've really got to just focus on just the guitars, because there's just so much happening in every regard. You know, I think Alex's bass playing is that much more dynamic, you know, more so than on this record than any other record. You know, so it's a good way to go about it, and a good way to listen to it, because exactly. We have, I think, like you said, you know, it made you listen to it that way because you had to, because we never gave you that opportunity. You never felt you probably needed to before, maybe in a Cannibal,
exactly.
You know. So
I think this was perhaps the first album from you guys where you actually, without perhaps knowing, you kind of gave us the opportunity to dissect. And I'm going to use that word because I think it fits with Cannibal Corpse. Dissect the album in a much different way. It's not just one of those records that you sit down and you listen to it and like whatever. No, it's an album that actually calls for you to dive a little bit deeper into it.
Right. Well, that's a good thing. No, that's a good thing, you know, and exactly. I really don't think we planned on doing it that way. It's just like our progression of, you know, where we go, you know, it's crazy to think, man, that we've come out with 15 records in 32 years now, which is like, man, that's insane, you know. And then you're always on a time frame here. It's never, you know, we're never a band to go, oh, well, when we're ready, you know, we'll get there. You know, we're not ready. No, we're so regimented like that, you know, where you know in advance, okay, hey, we got to write this time. You know, we're going to recording at this time, and that's how we've done it our whole career, you know. And this was no different. So it's crazy to think there's those moments in time where you had to create, you know. And here we go. We had the moment in time, those few months to create Violence Unimagined, and there we go, and this is what you get. And why now? Why is it different than, you know, Red Before Black, or, you know, or Torture, or you know, The Wretched Spawn? Who knows? I mean, it's weird how that works out in that way, you know. But I'm glad, you know, we created the album that we did, and I think it's going to cause a big big stir in excitement, like, you know, how you're talking about it and everything, and how you listen to it, and you know, the reactions we're getting so far. So it's crazy because we just kind of go about business as usual, and you know, this was no different. So, you know, interesting how that all pans out, you know.
Yeah, it is. And for a band with your history that you guys have, is it hard to walk the fine line between keeping the DNA of Cannibal Corpse intact and at the same time staying creative and putting out a record that not necessarily sounds like the last 2 albums?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, you know, I mean, you know, it's crazy because you think of the progressions. I mean, listen to, this album compared to Eating Back to Life. It's a very different, we're the same band, but we're different, So, but it's weird how every Cannibal record sounds like Cannibal, but yet every album is definitely, has different elements going on here and there. There's always something, at least a little subtle happening, I think, per release or per, writing session that we do a little bit differently, so there is that fine line. I mean, I think we've honed the, the ability to be able to kind of mesh everything together, to have like the old school mixed with the new school. I think Red Before Black was a good representation of that, of mixing kind of modern Cannibal with early Cannibal, and this to me is just like taking it to another level of that.
Yeah, turn to 11.
Yeah, right. So, but man, yeah, it's just, it's interesting when you do kind of think about it in these ways and dissect it like, like that. And, but it's good that it's all Cannibal.
Yeah, it is. And the other thing about this album that I thought was really interesting is that you have all of these songs on the album. They all work well together. They all coexist well with each other. But each one of them sounds slightly different from the next. Like if I close my eyes and I press play on shuffle and a song starts playing, you know what song you're listening to. It's not like the waters are muddied and you kind of like, I know it's Cannibal Corpse, but I don't really know which song I'm listening to. This album kind of has that. Was that something that you guys wanted beforehand going into the studio and to record this album?
Yeah, I think that's always been kind of like our key. Maybe we don't succeed every time, but you always try to make every song different, I mean, especially when you're dealing with different songwriters. I mean, that's, I think, a great thing about Cannibal is it's not just one guy writing all the music or one guy writing all the lyrics or what have you, So obviously we got three great songwriters here. So, and then we always try to, these days we want to try to make it as equal as possible. We don't want just go, well, whoever's got, the most songs, okay, well, Alex wrote 10 and, Rob only wrote 2, or, we really go into it these days of going, you know what? Yeah, Alex, you write 4, hey, Rob, write 4. Well, Eric's the new guy. Okay. Well, he'll write 3 at least, so we definitely went in that way, knowing, we're going to split it all like that. So I think then, hey, if you're only writing 4 songs, well, you want to make maybe your 4 songs sound different than the last one you wrote. You want to make them as diverse as possible and not have their own identity and not sound like, oh, well, 2 of them sound the same, and okay, so I think everyone's has that mindset of making their songs all, whatever they're writing 3 or 4, just different than the last song they wrote. So that's something we definitely look at, and then it comes down to, I think, like I was saying earlier, of just honing our skills, really just having so much experience that we have, we become better songwriters, and I think that's apparent, especially, man, I hear Rob songs, Rob came up with Inhumane Harvest, and, another one of my favorite songs on the record is Follow the Blood that Rob wrote as well. And I think Rob has been writing, and he's coming to his own, man.
Yeah.
He's just coming to his own of really nailing the songs and writing a really, really solid song, and and then you listen to the progressions of Alex's songwriting over the years, and then this album is just like, my God, it's just mind blowing,
Yeah, it's
Cerements
really...
Cerements of the Flayed, Slowly Sawn. I mean, those are just, like crazy, amazing, songs that have great identity on their own, like you're saying, and just, but definitely songs that we would not have written, early on, or even probably, a few years ago, kind of a thing. So, it's great to have that identity, great to have that diversity. Of course.
Yeah.
It's huge. Yes.
And you mentioned how difficult some of these songs were. Is there a song that will haunt you for a very long time in terms of the nightmares that it gave you when you were recording?
Man, the hardest 2, really, and I just mentioned them. Learning Slowly Sawn and Cerements of the Flayed were so difficult for me. I mean, it was like unbelievable that the mental anguish that I had to go through, to get these songs together. It was almost kind of like, man, once I was done, I'm glad I got them, but I haven't played Slowly Sawn in a while, but I've been playing Cerements of the Flayed. And when I first started doing Cerements, I was like, man, I am gonna just, when this song is done, I never want to think about it again, kind of a thing. You know, it's just that's how bad
This
it
one
was.
is not making the set list.
No, but you know what? Now that I got it and everything, it's like one of those that, I mean, I'd love to play live, man. It's weird how that goes,
It went around. It went around.
Well, yeah, exactly. It was like, man, at first I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I can't wait for this to be over. And now I'm like, man, this is one of my favorites, but that's how it goes.
Submission. It just pinned you down to submission.
It did. It got me, man. And it got me in a good way, because it's a great song. And, but man, it killed me learning it. That's for sure, man.
I got one last question for you, and that is, what keeps you guys motivated? I mean, 15 records, like you said, in 30 plus years. It's a lot of albums, a lot of work. You guys tour a lot. What keeps you guys moving?
Well, I think, we're in a lucky position. I mean, we're a fortunate position, to be who we are, to be in a band that's is as successful as we are. I feel that we just feel that, you only live once, man. You may only get one chance at this, and this was a dream of ours. You grow up and you want to be in a band, and I'm sure so many people had that dream and have that dream, and maybe you make it, maybe you don't. Well, we were fortunate to make it, so I think we look at that as being, we don't take it for granted. We want to do the best we can do. We want to take it as long as we can take it. Like I said, you only live once, life's too short, all those, typical cliches really, really do make sense, we feel like, why us? Why was it us? It could have been anybody else. We're just normal guys. We were just normal kids growing up in, Buffalo, New York. And, we just happened to, work hard and get a little luck on our side, all that thing. And here we are 32 years later, right, talking about our 15th record. So, and it's amazing. So I think that motivates us, the success we've had, and, the people that we've moved, the fans, how excited they are, how important that is, growing up as a fan of music, how important it is, to have this, what it does for you as a person in your life, what a positive force and energy it is. So I think we all feel that, that we've done good, in so many ways, and you just kind of want to keep that feeling going as long as you can, I guess, because exactly, I think we're at the latter end of our career, of course, I mean, that's just, the reality of it. And, it could be over tomorrow. It could be over in 5 years. It could be over in another 20. Who knows, right? So I think you just want to make the most of it and do the best you can, and that's what we've been doing. So that's a huge motivation.
And to use another cliche, just enjoy the moment.
Yeah, exactly. That's it, right? You have to, man. Because tomorrow isn't. It's not guaranteed. So you have to enjoy the moment, man. You got to be happy and enjoy life, today, right? So.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for your time, man. This was an absolute pleasure. Almost as good as listening to the album.
I know the album was way better. That's for sure. So I appreciate it. No, it's been great talking to you, man.
No, it's been my pleasure and my honor to have you on the channel, and to be able to talk to you about this latest Cannibal Corpse album. All the best to you and the guys in the album release. Much success. That's what I wish you and everybody. So all the best.
Okay, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you. And you have a good one. And, we'll talk to you at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah,
so.
take care, man.
All right, Pedro. All right, take care, man. Bye-bye.